What's up, everybody? Brady Figuel here, coming at you with a review of the new Kublai record, Exhibition of Prowess, that was out this past Friday, September 20th. It's the fifth album by these guys, who I would consider just straight up a hardcore band, definitely with some elements of metal, so I guess maybe like metallic hardcore if you want to be specific. A lot of people say they're metalcore, but it's kind of similar to Hatebreed in that way, because I feel like they don't have much metalcore influence. They just kind of have the metallic tinge in their hardcore sound. Vocalist Matt Honeycutt really utilizes that like hardcore bark style of vocal, and the majority of their guitar work is much more hardcore influenced than metal influenced, with its more punky type sections like the intro to the track Low Tech on here, and of course the heavy use of breakdowns. I feel like they use more breakdowns than non-breakdowns in terms of guitar playing, which is very hit or miss for me specifically, but I also feel like just in general. And when it comes to the guitar playing on this record and the more breakdown driven parts, there are some hits and there are some misses. Like the song Darwinism has this irresistibly catchy, groovy, bouncy breakdown riff that really drives the song. It almost has a bit of a swing to it at times, and it kind of weaves in and out in a way that it pauses before it repeats. The bridge also has a really catchy triplet-driven breakdown part. The guitar playing on this song feels like it's just pushing you out of its way. And the song 972, which I'll get into a bit more later, has, again, just this irresistibly catchy breakdown part. Dun-dun-dun, this stuff may not be very complex to play. It might be a bit caveman, but it's just so fucking catchy. It goes hard. However, that's not always the case. Like the song Cannibal, for instance, just has such a boring intro. The rest of the song isn't as bad. Like the pre-chorus is kind of groovy, and you get that somewhat more interesting bridge riff with the punk-style drums under it. But that intro riff just doesn't really set the song up very well, and it also returns at different points throughout the song as well. It just doesn't really have any dynamics to it. It's just dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. It's boring. The guitar work on the song Mud, which is a very appropriate title, I will say, is again just really forgettable. Like there's nothing really that stays with me after hearing that song. The song X too, it just kind of whizzes by you without like any trace of memorability, just because of how little earworms there are in the song. And also the closing track on here, Ant Pile 2, which of course is a sequel to Ant Pile off of the previous record. Again, it just guitar squeals the whole time. It's just not really very catchy. A lot of the material on here is very aggressive. It's very in your face, very high octane, but just showcases very little in terms of actual memorability, like I've been saying. The singles Theory of Mind and Low Tech I found to be kind of middle ground for this album. They're not really the better songs, but they're not really the worst songs. They just sit comfortably in the middle with some cool parts here and there, but again, nothing that really gives me the wow factor. Theory of Mind I do like about a minute and 10 seconds in, when you get that like syncopated breakdown that kind of takes on multiple feels. And Low Tech has some slight off-time qualities, which I also really enjoyed. It just, the rest of the song in both cases here just didn't really offer that much that elevated it in the track list for me. The two songs I really love on this album are 972 and A Hopeless Fate with Jamie Josta of Hatebreed. 972 is a song that really does see them amplify their metal roots a little bit. I love that main riff with just that evil bite to it. This song just has a much more unique vibe to it than the rest of the album, and it really makes it stand out. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, there's that insanely catchy breakdown that appears multiple times, and again, multiple different feels, and I do like when these guys do that. It allows these parts to really get engraved in your mind and become earworms without it feeling repetitive. And A Hopeless Fate, even aside from the Jamie Josta feature, is another great track. I love how it opens more, again, punky with those more open style power chords being played. And then when Jamie Josta's part kicks in, it gets a lot more sludgy. And again, it was a good change of pace for this song. There's a closed hi-hat section too, and then it kicks into like this almost droning sounding, again, slightly off time syncopated breakdown. And those vocal transmissions that kick in right when we first get that just, again, alarming, droning sounding breakdown riff, it gives the song almost like an apocalyptic feel to it. And again, the distinct mood in this song and 972 make these songs stand out, in my opinion, more than all of the other songs on here. So purely stylistically and songwriting wise, the album was somewhat of a mixed bag, but I will say I don't think there was any song I outright disliked. Some of them just felt a little bit underwhelming, but there were 2 songs that I have been repeating a lot since the album has came out. Something else that was a bit of a mixed bag for me here on this album were the lyrics. Take Theory of Mine, for example. Just every time I hear the opening line, monkey see, monkey do, I just can't help but crack up a little bit. And there are just random lines like that throughout the song. It just makes that song a little bit corny. But at the same time, though, I like the message of the song, and I like what the overall song is about. To me, these lyrics bring up like being closed off after being hurt in a relationship, and this idea that love will never be enough, which is probably one of my favorite lyrics on the whole album. But some of the lyrics on here just aren't really saying anything. Like, I do enjoy the song Darwinism, like I mentioned earlier, but look at those lyrics. They're not saying literally anything. And yes, I know this hardcore genre is very much a sound that is meant to be performed live, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure that song will crush live. But just surface level lyrics like that don't really do it for me. And this song lyrically is borderline Five Finger Death Punch, if we're being honest. I need something a little bit more than just pure confrontation. I do enjoy the very dry production on this album. It just captures the bluntness of the music really well, especially in the drums and Matt Honeycutt's vocals, which sound awesome. There were a few times where I thought the guitars sounded a little weak. Take the intro to the song Mud, for example. But the guitar tone and production also really contributes a lot to these songs, especially those really catchy breakdown parts that I mentioned. They give it just this extra sludge, which a lot of times make them hit much harder when they hit perfectly on the mark timing-wise. Again, that groovy riff in the song Darwinism, as well as that droning breakdown riff at the end of the song Hopeless Fate, are 2 great instances of that. I think if this album ventured out a little bit more like they did on my 2 favorite songs, ironically, it would have done a good amount of justice to this album. Because the result is overall a solid album for sure, but just feels like there's a lot of filler. And not every song on here contributes something in a way that's memorable. Exhibition of Prowess gets a 19 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Definitely hit subscribe for more rock and metal related content and reviews. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this album below, so definitely comment those. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.